Stop right there, human, no one crosses that gate and lives. The voice echoed like steel through mist. It wasn't human, it was too melodic, too sharp, as if each word cut through air like glass. Private Hale froze, one hand hovering over his rifle, the other holding a cracked holographic map flickering in the dim green light. His boots sank slightly into the damp alien soil, silver grass that shimmered faintly under the twin moons. He squinted, the gate before him wasn't metal nor stone, it pulsed. A living archway of translucent vines, breathing faint light with every beat, as though the world itself had a heartbeat. Exhaled slowly, I'm not here to fight, he said, his voice steady but his pulse loud in his ears. Then why are you here? The voice grew closer, soft but commanding. Humans never come without reason. A silhouette emerged through the mist, tall, elegant, her outline gleaming faintly. For a moment thought she was wearing armor, but then realized the shimmer was her skin. Luminous, almost fluid, shifting colors with her breath. Her eyes, two orbs of deep silver, locked on him. I'm looking for survivors, said. My team, they vanished beyond this ridge. She tilted her head, then they are gone, no one survives the veil. He glanced at the arch again, the vines pulsed faster as if reacting to his presence. What's behind it? Her silence answered everything and nothing. The air thickened, charged with static and scent like ozone and flowers after a storm. Somewhere distant, something howled, not animal, not machine. The gate is closing, Lyra murmured suddenly. You have 1 minute to turn back. 1 minute, stepped forward, hand brushing against the glowing vines. They were warm, beating, alive. If my people are behind there, I'm not leaving them. She studied him, something flickering in her eyes, curiosity, disbelief, sorrow. Human, she said softly, your kind fears death, yet you walk into it. Maybe, he said, voice rough, but we don't abandon our own. The vines reacted, the light flared, and the world shifted. Wind slammed against his body as the ground gave way. For an instant he felt weightless, falling through layers of air that shimmered like liquid glass. Then stillness. He stood in a valley of silent silver trees that whispered in no wind. Above him, stars formed shapes that shouldn't exist, spirals within spirals, constellations that moved as if alive. And in the distance, a tower rose like a black needle piercing heaven, its tip glowing faintly crimson. He could feel eyes on him. He turned, but Lyra wasn't beside him anymore. Only her voice lingered, soft and distant. You shouldn't have come, human. The realm will decide your fate now. Then the silence returned, vast, suffocating, and filled with hidden life. Lifted his rifle, eyes scanning. Then let it decide, he whispered. The silver trees shivered, and far beyond them something began to move, slow, deliberate, and colossal. The first sound was a heartbeat. Then came the whisper. A human has entered the forbidden realm. And the ground itself began to tremble. Identify yourself, intruder. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, echoing inside skull, heavy as thunder. He spun around, rifle raised, but the forest remained eerily still. The silver trees seemed to stare at him, their smooth bark reflecting fragments of his own terrified face. Private Hale, United Earth Expeditionary Force, he answered, though he wasn't sure why. The words felt absurd in a place that had no sky. A deep vibration rolled through the ground, slow, rhythmic, like the breathing of a giant beneath the earth. The air shimmered, and from between the trees, figures emerged. They weren't soldiers. They were statues come alive, tall, faceless beings carved from obsidian and light, their bodies etched with lines of glowing runes that pulsed in time with the forest. Each step they took made the earth sigh. One extended a hand, its fingers made of bending light. You trespass in her sanctuary, it intoned. By decree of the eternal veil, you are condemned. His finger hovered over his trigger, but he didn't fire. Wait, he said sharply, I'm just looking for my team. The figures paused. For a moment the glow on their chests flickered as if they were thinking. Then a voice cut through, clear, commanding, and heartbreakingly human. Stand down. His heart skipped. The voice was Lyra. She stepped into view between the towering guardians, her glow dimmed to a faint halo, her expression unreadable. He's under my protection, she said. The guardians turned their featureless faces toward her. The law forbids. I am the law here, she interrupted quietly. Her tone carried no anger, only authority that left no space for doubt. The beings lowered their heads in eerie synchrony before fading back into the mist, their forms dissolving like smoke. Lyra turned too, eyes cold as moonlight. You shouldn't have touched the gate, it marked you. Frowned marked me. She gestured toward his arm. The skin where he had touched the vines now shimmered faintly, tiny silver patterns crawling like living ink beneath the surface. What the hell, he whispered. The realm knows you now, she said. It watches through you, every heartbeat, every thought, you belong to its sight. Then help me undo it. Lyra's lips parted but no sound came. For a heartbeat, emotion cracked her calm, guilt maybe or fear. You don't understand, she said softly. No one undoes the realm, not even me. The wind shifted or something like it. The trees bent slightly, bowing in unnatural rhythm. Heard whispers again, faint but distinct, words in no language he knew, yet he understood the feeling, hunger, memory, judgment. He looked around. It's alive, isn't it? Lyra nodded slowly. The realm is more than alive, it remembers. Every trespass, every war, every soul that dared to step within. Your people came here once before, long ago. Froze humans. She met his eyes, and for the first time her voice trembled. Yes, and the realm never forgot them. The silence that followed was suffocating. Looked up at the blood-red tower in the distance. Is that where my team went? Lyra's gaze followed his. If they enter the tower, they are already part of it. Then I'll get them out. Her eyes widened slightly, astonished, perhaps even impressed. You're defying a living god, human. He adjusted the strap on his rifle. Wouldn't be my first time. Lyra stared at him for a long moment, then sighed. Foolish but brave, the realm feeds on both. The ground pulsed again, a low boom beneath their feet. The crimson light on the tower flared brighter, as if it had heard his vow. Then let it come, said voice steady. Lyra's eyes softened, not with pity but with something far rarer. It already has. And above them, the sky began to blade. A tear of light split the heavens, and from it shadow poured down like liquid night taking shape, crawling toward them with the sound of whispering screams. Lyra turned too, voice sharp now. If you want to live, follow me. He hesitated only a second, then ran. Behind them, the forest began to wake. Ran, boots pounding against the silver soil, heart hammering so violently he thought it might betray him to the realm itself. Behind him, the whispering shadows stretched, folding into shapes that shouldn't exist, limbs that bent in impossible angles, faces that were glimpses of past trespassers, screaming without sound. Lyra glided ahead with a fluid grace, light spilling from her like liquid starlight. She didn't glance back, yet could feel her gaze tracking him with unnerving precision. You have the mark, she said without slowing. The realm saw your people long ago, and now it watches you through their memory, every fear, every hope it will use against you. What do you mean, gasped. His arm still shimmered, the silver patterns crawling like living veins. Use me against what? The tower, Lyra said. Her voice was calm, but a tremor betrayed the weight behind her words. It holds what is left of your squad and the souls of those who came before. The realm does not forget, it does not forgive, and it does not release without payment. The air shifted again. The whispering shadows seemed to lean closer, their soundless cries scraping against his mind. Stumbled but kept moving. Fear gnawed at his thoughts, yet something deeper, stubbornness, courage, perhaps defiance, kept him upright. You've never met a human like me before, he muttered, more to himself than her. Lyra glanced back, expression unreadable, but the faintest flicker of a smile ghosted her lips. No, you are different, bold, reckless, and unbroken. Perhaps that is why you were allowed to pass. Frowned aloud. You mean this isn't just random? It is never random, she said, stopping suddenly beside a narrow canyon of shimmering rock. A low rumble vibrated through the ground. The shadows halted too, gathering like smoke at the canyon's edge. The realm selects, and it has selected you. He stared into the abyss. Far below, silver rivers of liquid light twisted through jagged rocks. Figures moved, distant, faceless shapes of soldiers. His team, stomach tightened. Are they alive? Lyra shook her head, but her gaze lingered on him. Alive, yes, but not entirely themselves. The realm remembers them, reshapes them, and tests the intruder who bears their mark. Your heart will be weighed against theirs. Test's voice rose, panic mixed with defiance. I've faced worse than tests. I've survived collapse, ambush, starvation. I'm not afraid of your realm. A whisper swept through the canyon, not wind, not sound, but thought. Fear, pain, death. Felt it pierce him, a memory not his own, a screaming comrade falling into a black abyss, eyes wide with terror. He stumbled, doubled over, gasping. The mark on his arm pulsed violently, heat burning into his skin. Lyra stepped forward, placing a hand on his shoulder. The touch was warmth itself, calming and alien. It is using you, she said softly. Every step you take, every heartbeat, it reaches through memory, but you can survive it if you trust yourself, not the past, not the realm yourself. Lifted his head, determination hardening in his chest. Then I survive, I find my team, and I get out, no matter what this place wants from me. Lyra studied him, eyes reflecting galaxies of light. Few could say that and live, she said, almost whispering. You may be the first. A shudder ran through the ground. The crimson tower in the distance pulsed, its light beating in time with the mark on his arm. The shadows in the canyon began to move again, this time faster, closer, forming shapes that were both human and alien, twisted by memory. Lyra grabbed his hand. Listen, the tower has doors, doors that do not open to force but to understanding. You must reach them before the realm consumes your will. Time is not on your side. Swallowed, the whispers were louder now, echoing every doubt, every fear, every choice he had ever made. But beneath it all, a fire ignited, stubborn, fierce human. He nodded, then we go, no turning back. The two of them ran, their silhouettes swallowed by the silver forest, toward the pulse of the crimson tower. And far above, the realm watched, patient, hungry, eternal. The crimson tower loomed closer with every step, its surface rippling like molten glass. The boots sank into the silver soil, leaving trails of light that vanished almost instantly. Shadows danced in the corners of his vision, twisting into shapes that were all too familiar, faces of soldiers he had trained with, even ones long gone, staring at him with hollow eyes. Lyra's hand gripped his firmly, her presence a tether to reality. The tower tests not your strength but your soul, she said. Every step inside will show you what you fear, what you regret, and what you desire most. Stomach clenched, he thought of his team, lieutenant, sharp-witted and brave, sergeant, steady and fearless, corporal, always cracking jokes even under fire. Are they alive or are they gone? The ground beneath them pulsed, vibrating with a rhythm that seemed to echo from its own heartbeat. As they approached the tower, the shimmering walls began to shift. Doors appeared where there had been none, etched with alien symbols that glowed faintly, inviting yet foreboding. Lyra stopped. Choose carefully, she whispered. Each door leads to a trial. Only one path will take you to your team, the others will trap you forever in reflection. Swallowed hard, he studied the doors, feeling the pull of something deep inside him, memories, fears, fragments of regret. One door flickered with the image of a familiar insignia. His team's emblem. His chest tightened, that had to be it. He stepped forward, Lyra close behind, and touched the handle. The moment his fingers grazed it, the door dissolved into a swirl of silver mist. He was pulled inside, tumbling through a tunnel of shifting light and sound. Echoes of laughter, screams, gunfire, and whispers assaulted his senses. When he landed, he was in a vast chamber lined with mirrors. Not ordinary mirrors, but tall, polished surfaces that reflected not just his image, but moments of his life, moments he hadn't even realized he remembered. Each reflection moved independently, showing choices he'd made, victories he'd celebrated, failures he'd buried. From the corners of the chamber, shadowed figures emerged. They were humanoid, but their faces shifted constantly, taking on the features of people knew, friends, enemies, even strangers he had passed in the streets of Earth. They moved in silence, circling him with deliberate patience. You must face them, Lyra's voice echoed, coming from everywhere and nowhere. Only by confronting who you are, not who you fear you are, can you move forward. His pulse raced, he raised his rifle, but the reflections didn't attack. Instead, they stared, and in their gaze, he saw every mistake he'd ever made, every time he'd hesitated, every life he couldn't save. You can't hide, the reflections whispered. You can't save them all. Gritted his teeth, maybe not all, he thought, but I'll save the ones I can. He closed his eyes, grounding himself in the memory of his squad, their courage, their loyalty, their laughter. When he opened his eyes, the mirrors shimmered, the shadows recoiled. Lyra stepped forward, her hand brushing the nearest mirror. It rippled like water and revealed a doorway beyond, faintly glowing, faintly welcoming. Good, she said, her voice calm but sharp. You faced yourself without succumbing to fear. The next chamber will test your resolve further. What lies ahead will challenge everything you believe about humanity and the realm. Nodded, shoulders tense but determined. Then we keep going. The chamber shook. A low hum filled the air, vibrating through his chest and bones alike. The mirrors fractured, and from the shards, flickers of movement, his team, alive but distorted, reaching out from behind the silver glass. Lyra warned, don't touch them until you understand the trial. The realm feeds on desperation. His hands hovered, torn between instinct and caution. The eyes staring back at him were pleading, familiar, almost human, yet he knew the realm had twisted them. He swallowed and stepped forward, feeling the weight of every decision pressing down. One wrong move, one moment of weakness, and he might join the echoes trapped forever in this living prison. But deep inside, a stubborn ember of humanity burned. Fear could whisper, but courage roared. "Let's end this," he muttered, gripping his rifle. And the mirrors rippled again, this time opening a path into darkness, the path to the heart of the Crimson Tower and the secret the realm had been keeping for centuries. The path through the mirrors led in Lyra into a central chamber that seemed to pulse like a living heart. The walls throbbed with crimson light, veins of silver running through them, and a faint hum resonated deep within the stone. Every step they took sent ripples through the floor, like walking across the surface of water. His arm still shimmered with the mark, crawling with silver patterns that throbbed in sync with the tower's pulse. "It's alive, more alive than I thought," he muttered. The walls seemed to respond, bending slightly, echoing his voice. Lyra's gaze was fixed on a massive, floating orb at the center of the room. It radiated a soft crimson glow, and within it, flickers of human figures swirled his team, their forms indistinct but undeniably alive. "This is the heart," she said. "Everything in the tower is tethered to it. Touch it, and you could lose yourself to the realm. Fail, and your team will vanish completely." Swallowed hard, chest tightening, he raised his rifle instinctively, but the weapon felt hollow here. The real challenge wasn't force, it was mind, heart, and will. "The Guardians," Lyra whispered, "they are not what they seem." Before could ask, the floor trembled. Dark silhouettes emerged from the edges of the chamber, their forms flickering between human and alien. Faces of soldiers long dead, humans who had ventured here before, twisted by the tower's memory. Yet their eyes were aware, intelligent, and searching. One stepped forward, its voice was both familiar and alien. "You carry the mark, the past moves through you, will you bow or break?" Steadied himself. "I won't bow and I won't let you harm them," he said, heart hammering. He realized the mark wasn't just a curse, it was a key, a connection between him and the tower. The realm could see through him, but he could see through it too. Lyra stepped closer, her light flickering in reassurance. "You must remember," she said, "the realm's strength is memory, yours is choice. One path leads to control, the other to destruction." Took a deep breath, he closed his eyes, letting his mind reach into the silver veins crawling across his skin. The pulse of the tower and the whispers of his team merged in his consciousness. He remembered, not just the mistakes, but the courage, not just fear, but love, loyalty, and laughter. The silhouettes shrieked, recoiling as if burned, opened his eyes. "I see you," he said steadily, "not as echoes, but as people who deserve to live." The tower trembled violently. The heart orb pulsed faster, cracking like a fragile gem. Shadows were thrown across the walls, twisting and screaming, yet stood firm. Lyra's eyes widened. You are stronger than I anticipated." She hesitated, then added quietly, "Stronger than any human should be." Extended his hand toward the heart. The orb pulsed violently in response. The memories within it clawed at his mind, failures, regrets, loss, but he pushed forward. He could feel his team inside, frightened but still there. Their courage clung to him like a lifeline. With a final surge, pressed his hand to the orb. Light exploded in every direction, shattering mirrors and throwing crimson and silver into the air. The shadows shrieked, dissolving into mist, and then silence. When the light faded, found himself standing in the center of the chamber. The orb was gone. The tower had grown still, but something had changed. The mark on his arm glowed softly, no longer threatening but protective. Lyra stepped forward, her expression softer than had ever seen. "You've done what no human before could," she said. "You've faced the realm and not been consumed. You belong here now in a way I cannot explain." His chest heaved. "What about my team?" She gestured toward the corridor behind the chamber. His squad, alive and whole, stepped into view, blinking as though waking from a long sleep. Relief flooded, he ran to them, embracing. You saved us," whispered, shaking. "I couldn't have done it without her," said, nodding toward Lyra. Lyra's smile was faint but radiant. "You are more than human, Hale. You have something even the realm cannot replicate: spirit, courage, hope." The Crimson Tower seemed to sigh, its pulse fading to a gentle rhythm like a heart settling after a storm. Outside, the silver forest glimmered, calm but alive. The realm had tested him, and for the first time in centuries it seemed content. Glanced at Lyra. "What now?" She tilted her head, eyes reflecting stars. "Now we leave. The realm will remember you human, but it will not harm you again, and perhaps in time it will forgive your kind." Nodded, feeling exhaustion and awe wash over him. Together they stepped out of the tower into the living forest, knowing that they had not only survived the realm, they had changed it. And in the silent silver trees, a faint pulse continued, watching, waiting, but no longer threatening. stepped out of the crimson tower, his boots sinking slightly into the silver grass that shimmered under the twin moons. His team followed closely, each of them shaken but alive, and blinked, looking around at the forest as if seeing it for the first time, yet there was a tension in the air that told them this place was far from ordinary. Lyra walked beside, her glow soft now, almost human in warmth. "The realm has accepted your will," she said quietly. "But understand this, survival comes at a price. It does not forget and it does not forgive easily." "Frowned, a price, what do you mean?" "The mark," she explained, pointing to the faint silver pattern still visible on his arm. "It remains as a tether. You may leave the tower, but the realm can always see through it. It will test you again, perhaps not in life, but in dreams, in memory, in the choices you make." He flexed his fingers, the patterns shimmered faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. "So I'm connected to it forever." Lyra nodded. "Yes, and not just you, your people have left echoes in this world. You may carry the realm's gaze without realizing it." Glanced at his team, they looked relieved, but he could see the same quiet wariness reflected in their eyes. He understood now their victory was only temporary. The realm had spared them, but it had not forgotten. I hesitated. "I came here to save my team, but I feel like we changed something too. The tower, the heart, it's different now." Lyra's eyes softened. "It is. You forced it to see humanity in a way it never had. For centuries it has fed on fear and memory, but you brought something it could not consume, hope." A rustle passed through the silver grass, turned, sensing movement, subtle, deliberate, alive. The trees themselves seemed to lean toward him, not threatening but curious. The realm was awake, aware of him, yet for the first time there was a trace of respect in its pulse. "Will it follow us?" asked, voice trembling. Lyra shook her head slowly. "No, not in this form, but the mark will remain and the connection will linger. You may feel its presence when you least expect it. Remember this, it does not control you, you control yourself." Nodded, there was a weight to her words, a responsibility he hadn't anticipated. The realm had tested him, reshaped him, and left him stronger, but also aware of the fragility of life and the indelible power of human spirit. He looked at Lyra. "Why did you help me? Why let me walk into the tower when you said no one survives it?" Her gaze drifted toward the twin moons. "Because I have seen the realm destroy those who were worthy of life. I was tired of watching potential die for lack of courage. You have something rare, something the realm cannot touch, choice, humanity's resilience." Swallowed, processing her words. For centuries, her people had lived under the weight of the realm, bound by rules and fear. And yet here she was, giving him and his team a chance to prove themselves. The forest around them shimmered with soft light as if acknowledging his resolve. He could almost hear it breathe, gentle, patient, watching. "Then we leave," said firmly, turning to his team. "We'll make it back, alive together." Lyra nodded, stepping back toward the edge of the forest. "Go," she said. "And remember, the realm will never forget you. It will watch, it will test, but it will also recognize courage when it sees it. That is your gift and your burden." Glanced back once at the crimson tower, its heart now silent, its pulse reduced to a faint rhythm. Then he turned toward the unknown horizon beyond the forest. Whatever lay ahead, he knew one thing: humanity had left a mark here just as the realm had left one on him. And for the first time, he felt the full weight of what being human truly meant: hope, courage, and the unyielding will to survive against impossible odds. The forest gradually thinned, silver grass giving way to rocky ground streaked with faint blue light. Led his team forward, each step feeling heavier yet purposeful. The trials inside the tower still echoed in his mind, reflections of fear, memory, and resolve, but now they seemed distant, like shadows fading at dawn. Ian trailed close behind, each silently processing the ordeal. No words could capture what they had survived. Even the silence felt alive, filled with the unspoken acknowledgement that they had been changed forever. Lyra walked beside, her glow dimmer than before, yet warm, almost human. "You've done more than survive," she said. "You've awakened the realm to the essence of your species. Few could have done this, human." Glanced at her, the weight of her words sinking in. "Then the realm won't attack Earth." Lyra shook her head. "Not unless provoked. The mark connects you to it, yes, but it now sees you as something more than prey. Your courage resonates. It respects the choice to protect, not to dominate." The team reached the edge of the forest. Beyond it, the alien world stretched in a breathtaking panorama of luminous mountains and rivers that glowed faintly under the twin moons, breathed in the crisp air. He had walked through fear, memory, and impossible tests, and yet he stood alive, stronger, and resolute. "Humanity," Lyra murmured, almost to herself. "You carry a stubborn light, it frightens and fascinates the realm." Gaze met hers. "Then I guess that means there's more we can do together." Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile. Perhaps, but for now you return to your world. The mark will remain a reminder, a connection. One day perhaps it will call upon you again. He nodded, glancing back toward the now distant Crimson Tower. The pulses of light were gone, the heart silent, yet the memory of it lingered deep in his soul. The journey back to the human settlement was quiet. The silver forest whispered around them, alive but peaceful. Led his team, aware now that courage was not just about facing danger, it was about confronting oneself, protecting others, and carrying hope where darkness loomed. When they reached the edge of the alien world, the gateway shimmered faintly, the living archway that had brought into the forbidden realm. His hand hovered over it, feeling the faint pulse of energy. He had entered as a soldier, uncertain, desperate. Now he stepped through as someone who had faced the impossible and prevailed. Back in the human settlement, the team was greeted with awe and relief. They told their story in fragments, unable to fully describe the wonder, fear, and life-altering experience of the realm. Yet even among disbelief, knew the truth. Humanity had proven its resilience in a world that had tested it beyond imagination. Lyra remained behind, watching from the edge of the forest, a guardian and observer of the boundary between their worlds. Her eyes shimmered with curiosity and respect. Somewhere deep in the realm, the pulses of light continued, a living memory, a promise, and a bond. Looked up at the sky, feeling the faint warmth of the twin moons reflected in his eyes. The mark pulsed softly, a heartbeat in rhythm with the courage that had carried him this far. He smiled faintly, knowing that the trials were over for now. But somewhere in the distance, beyond worlds and boundaries, a connection endured, human spirit and alien wonder intertwined, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The Forbidden Realm had tested them, and humanity had emerged not broken but extraordinary. And somewhere in the silence of the alien forest, a faint whisper echoed. The human has walked through the heart of the realm and lived. Hale exhaled, the weight of survival and triumph settling in. For the first time, he truly understood the power of courage, hope, and the unyielding will of humanity.